Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Angus and Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you try their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignons, and of course the king of all, those cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes, best in the business. Hell, wait till you try those big burgers, those half-pound massive Angus and Wagyu burgers, prime that is. Best ones I've ever had, probably the best you'll ever have as well. Check them out online at UppercutChops.com from your mobile device or your desktop or laptop computer, or give them a call and find out what's for dinner at 702-799-9935, 702-799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935 for UppercutChops.com. Yes! All right, a big welcome to everybody listening in and watching on television and radio, of course, on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates. From coast to coast, all of our independents as well. Thanks for joining us also on Instagram, Facebook, and AMP TV, AAMP.TV. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow.
Hey, this is Tommy John, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, here with Bill Clement. We have special guests Robert F. Kennedy Jr., billionaire Jeff Hoffman, Mike Golick, Tom Flores,
John Stockton,
David Meltzer, Jim Tunney, Roger Craig,
Andre Reed,
Mario Andretti,
Herschel Walker,
Lloyd Firestone, Mike Haynes,
Kevin Green,
Brian Urlacher,
Jim Jeffcoat,
Rod Jaworski,
Al Bubba Baker,
Brett Saberhagen,
Rich Cho,
Markey,
Charles Smith, Danny McClain, Yank Barry, Grant Fuhrer,
Paul Dvorsky,
President of the Vegas Golden Knights, George McPhee,
Len Komoroski, CEO of Cavaliers,
Blake Greenwood, Mickey Suda,
Art Steele,
Don Beebe,
Ken Solomon,
Tom Dreesen,
Pat O'Connor, Alan Glist, 43 Tony Awards,
Walt Harris, Mike Crawford, President and CEO of the Hall of Fame,
Louis Viola, President, Paramount Famous Production, Universal Worldwide Home Entertainment, Universal Studios Home Entertainment, Glenn Berman, Randy Funk,
Professor Dr. Tommy John, Dave Robertson, Pat Williams,
Brandon Schneider,
Henry Bibby,
Mike Bibby,
Tim Donaghy,
Dan Hughes,
Marcus Johnson, George Lynn,
Larry Sanders, Steve Berlander,
Dr. Jen Welter,
Steve Lavin, Gus Farrar,
Craig Colquitt,
Paul Shortino.
My life is just a party and parties weren't meant to last. Dickerson,
Jason Hook, guitar player for Five Finger Death Punch,
Craig Bartok, lead guitar player, songwriter for Rock and Roll Hall of Fame band Heart.
Sidney Justin from the Miracles.
My name is Curtis Blow. Basketball is my favorite sport. I like the way they dribble up and down the court. I'm here on the Sports Circus.
Vinny from the Bronx Wanderers.
Mark Schulman, drummer for Pink, Cher, Velvet Revolver, Stevie Nicks, Sheryl Crow, Simple Mind, Richard Mark,
Aaron Fink, Breaking Benjamin,
Jason Hartlett, drummer for rock legend Ted Nugent.
Matt Starr, drummer for Ace Frehley from Kiss,
Rockstar, Todd Kearns,
Phil Buckman, the bass player in the rock band Fuel,
Dave Laurie,
Neil Donnell from the band Chicago.
This is Brad Gillis from the band Night Ranger, and
Philip Bailey,
Reasons, the reasons that we're here.
8-time Grammy Award winner, top 100 greatest drummers of all time.
Kenny Aronoff with John Fogerty, Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr, and Elton John, Stevie Wonder, Dave Grohl, Joe Walsh, John Mellencamp.
John Deddy, drummer for Slayer, Anthrax, Testament, Volbeat.
Mitch Malloy, I'm the lead singer of Great White.
Pete Thorne with Chris Cornell, Melissa Etheridge,
Rob Mount, drums with Lou Graham,
Philip Schaus, I play guitar with Accept. I play bass guitar for Ace Frehley.
Todd Morris from The Offspring,
Ty Dennis, The Doors,
Eric Aldenius, from Bill Adams,
Red Jones, bass player for Vontae, Steelheart, Fuel, Michael Schenker Group,
Brian Trock,
Scotty McClellan,
Chris Christian,
4-time Grammy Award winner.
Heidi Merrill,
Vince Van Patten,
Daniel Negreanu,
Greg Fossilman Raymer,
Billy Hayes,
Foz Davis,
Rashad Phillips,
Dr. Kristen Willemeyer,
NASA astronauts, Mike Millay,
Anthony Davis,
George Stark, Dwayne Starks,
Brian Mitchell,
Rick Upchurch,
Willie Rofe,
Jim Fossil,
Jay Schrader, Pepper Johnson,
Andre
aka Bad Moon, aka Rise.
Brian Jordan.
Bill Romanowski.
Dwight Hicks. Jason McKee.
Michael Keller.
Fred Mitchell.
Tim Rando.
Tom Brenneman.
Barry Katz.
Brad Williams.
Dean Edwards.
Emmett Short.
Jason Acevedo.
It's Christina Smith.
Bruce Nahan.
Lee Haney. Rick Barry. Cowboy Ninja. Lance Pekas. Andrew Williams.
Don Most here.
Kevin Sorbo here.
Yes.
Dr. Peter McCullough.
Damian Jackson, ex-Navy SEAL.
Margaret Carey. Tinkerbell.
Stephanie Stuckey, CEO of Stuckey's Corporation.
Bruce Perlowan, founder, Marijuana Inc., Medical Marijuana Inc., Hemp Inc.
Ronnie Nunn.
Belgian Henderson.
Jack Llewellyn, sports psychologist.
Susie Helmaker.
Alexander Bardot Pinto.
Bill O'Brien.
Brad Server, grandson of Curly Howard from the Three Stooges. Chris Kemper. Aaron Rowan.
Art Kushner.
Jose Rio in the house.
Greg Olson.
Matt Joyce. Jim Layford. Brad Coleman.
Burst. Santana Moss.
Vance Johnson.
Donnie Shale.
Larry Bubber. Cole. Eddie Murray.
Wesley Woodyard.
Dexter Irvin. Colin Fraser. Andrew Ladd.
Dustin Penner.
Brian Killingsworth.
Bart Oates. Don Horn. Ryan McNeil. Von Kirkland.
Chucky Okobe.
Jackie Sherrill. Eddie Meter.
EJ Speed.
Destiny Wooten. Dave Merhar. Pete Todd.
Bob Grant.
Dan Pastorini. Mark Fleming.
Brad Hopkins.
Lee Steinberg. Steve Watson. Dan Vincent. Mitzi Dolan. Karen Laurie.
Bo Campbell. Len Elmore. Turkey Brown. Aubrey Hunt.
Chuck Jones.
John Nyland.
I'm Andy Van Slyke.
Matt Starr. Dr. George Gauthier.
Very sure.
Jesse Sapolo. Dana Stubblefield.
Jeff Rago. Jeff Jager.
Gino Toretta.
Jim O'Brien.
Kerry Justin. JT Thompson. Jim Everett. John McLaren.
Brad Boone.
Mel Stottlemyre.
Alan Massengale. Francisco Dawson. Kurt Sandoval.
Matt Gresham.
Bailey Brom. Leonard Marshall. Gary Reasons.
Doug Plank.
Everson Walls.
Jim McNally. Shemmy Schembeckler.
Kerwalk. Leroy Irvin.
Icky Wood. Tyrone Poole.
Alicia Thompson. Chris Stuhonker. Scott Petrick. Bruce Crampton. Butch Baird. Joe Koff. Kristen Rhodes.
James Gisco.
Mayor Carolyn Goodman.
John Lee, Mayor of North Las Vegas.
Amy Wilson.
Nick Mackay. Voice of Salem Saberhagen. The talking cat from Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
The father of the first family of drag racing.
John Ford.
Ricky Stidhouse.
Ben Brost, the voice of stock car racing.
Robbie Wells seeking the Democratic nomination for President of the United States.
Jim Strasser, founder and CEO of Cali Strong, the California Sports Company. CEO of LA Gear, Nike, Oakley, Quicksilver, owner partners at Converse.
Shea Hillebrand.
Carl McDowell. Jamie Baker.
Carlos Munoz. Darius Kasparaitis.
Dominic Roussel.
Will Christie.
Emery Moorhead.
Kyle Turley.
Dave Robinson.
Jeff Bryant.
Leroy Irvin. Eric Hipple.
Mike Truminski.
Matt Doherty.
Dan Clark. Nitro. American Gladiator.
Manny Sanguian. Marlon Green. Emery Moorhead.
Ricky Ellis. Kylie Washington.
Vince Workman.
Brett Lashbrook.
Chesty LaRue. Scotty Graham. John Robinson. Chris Dishman. Gary Robinson. Catcher Bill. Ward Brewster.
Brady Barnes.
Anastasia Valentine. Daryl Evans. Big Theo Ratliff.
Dr. Edwards.
Adrian Goodson.
Cedric Tony. Ricky Pierce.
Spud Webb.
Rusty Spindell. Carl Mecklenburg. Mark Currier.
Toy Cook.
Mercury Morris.
Eric Davis. Thomas Hollywood Henderson.
Harold Jackson.
Chris Lacey.
I'm Eric Biggert.
Rich Murata.
Steve Lott.
Michelle Corrales-Lewis.
Brace. The Beast. Aleem.
Joe Cortez. Mark Cassidy. Chris Bird.
Caleb Sweethands Plant.
Bronco Billy Ride. Protect their companies. And so maybe it was an outside organization that's telling the people on the inside what to do. Because it sure seems like most of these games have been compromised. I'm not the only one saying it, folks. I'm the only one really with the gonads to say it in the first place. Because these games are fixed, in my opinion. They're 100% fixed. It's embarrassing. Just like the Super Bowl. Same damn thing. Garbage in, garbage out. For all those bettors, all those would-be bettors that are sitting out there saying, well, I'm going to go to my favorite fantasy sports whatever company, I'm not going to name the companies, and I'm going to go place my bets there because they're constantly telling me on TV, oh, you could bet this, or you should bet this, or this is the over, this is the under, here's this, here's that, here's all these statistics, right? We want you to bet, right? Because all the kickbacks that may be going to those organizations for pumping all of those would-be games that would appear to be legitimate. But it seems like those games are remarkably illegitimate. And it's obvious to some people. And we've had one individual very, very in particularly say, yes, who played in the league for some years, who went to go work for another party after working for the National Football League. And that particular person, 100%, the games are compromised, the games are fixed, and they said it right on this show. You're going to have to listen to about 2,000 episodes to find the right one. Oh, yeah. It happened on this show. Those games are fixed, people. For those people that are betting on them, fool's on you. Shame's on you. Everything's on you. And guess what? Now you're walking a little lighter because you just had your lunch money stolen by the National Football League and possibly the casinos. Back here in a few minutes on The Circus, folks. Lots more to come. Don't go anywhere.
Don't you give me none of your back talk.
Are you a small business owner or pursuing the dream of starting your own company? Do you know where to start or how to grow that existing business? The American Business Trust Company has the answers you need. The American Business Trust Company can help you start up with capital, business strategy, sales, and marketing, and establish your company with a physical location or an online presence on the internet. You decide. You bring the idea. Then American Business Trust can help with the rest. For a free evaluation, visit them online at abtrustco.com. That's abtrustco.com. Or call them at 657-600-1876. That's American Business Trust Company, 657-600-1876. Call them today. They'll help your business right away. That's American Business Trust Company. Online at abtrustco.com. American Business Trust Company. So you want to be in show business. Do people tell you that you're really funny, that you have a great personality, and you should have your own talk show? Many of us have been told that, but we don't know how to get it started. It's easier than you think. Let the pros at Cali Vegas give you a free talent evaluation. Call them at 949-445-1119 and learn how quickly you can create, produce, and host your very own talk show. Imagine not having to sit in traffic every day, commuting back and forth to that same old boring job. Get started in television or radio today with your free talent evaluation from Cali Vegas. Call them at 949-445-1119 or visit them online at calivegas.com. What do you have to lose? Make a dream come true today and create your new career. Learn how to become a television or radio star with the help of Cali Vegas. Just call 949-445-1119. That's 949-445-1119. Call them now.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UppercutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UppercutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UppercutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average and best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UppercutChops.com or call 702-799-9935 at 702-799-9935, 702-799-9935, or make your selection directly at UppercutChops.com.
Welcome back to Sports Arcade. I'm the Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. This segment brought to you by our friends over at the American Business Trust Company, helping companies with strategy, sales and marketing, capital resources, and establishing companies with physical locations or at the internet. Contact the American Business Trust Company at info@abtrustco.com. That's info@abtrustco.com, or give them a call at 657-600-1876. That's 657-600-1876. That's 657-600-1876 for the American Business Trust Company. All right, welcome back to everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates, plus our independents from coast to coast, including our friends over in Honolulu on CBS Sports 1500 KHKA. That's home of the Yankees, home of the San Francisco 49ers, and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Welcome in to everybody that may be listening in with our friends over on CNBC and NBC News in California, right here in Las Vegas Public Radio, KQQY. Big stuff coming from there real soon. Can't tell you about the press release that's coming. Also welcoming everybody over in Atlanta, WDJY 99.1 FM. And, of course, WAUD, home of the world champion Atlanta Braves. Yes, they still are the world champion Atlanta Braves until they're knocked off and until a new champion is crowned. So, yes, it is still home of the world champion Atlanta Braves. WAUD out of Auburn, Alabama, stretching from Columbus, Georgia, all the way over to Montgomery. And welcoming to everybody that's picking up some of our content over on KTXT Raider Radio, that's 88.1 FM, Texas Tech University over in Lubbock, Texas. Thanks for joining us there as well. Plus, Spectrum, Frontier, Wild Cable TV, all those affiliates, as well as Hotel TV and over 500,000 rooms from coast to coast. And again, everybody on Instagram, Facebook, and AmpTV, AAMP.TV. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow. All right, so it was the NFL and compromised games. Everybody wants these big, high-scoring games and all this other dog and pony show. But, you know, how about this one? What do you think? Is this boring or exciting? A 0-0 tie in the NFL. How often does that happen? Look, there have been 73 games in pro football history that ended in a 0-0 tie, according to Pro Football Reference. But it's been nearly 80 years since the last one, meaning there's yet to be a scoreless tie in the Super Bowl era. So when was the last 0-0 game in the NFL? Most recently, way back in the time machine. We're going to go back 79 years. There was a 0-0 tie on November 7, 1943 in a game played between the New York Football Giants and the Detroit Lions. Why am I not surprised that Detroit is in there? Because usually when it comes to those kinds of dubious things, well, Detroit is usually a part of it. So, of course, the two teams combined for 9 first downs, an abysmal 9 first downs. Yes. And 214 yards of total offense at Briggs Stadium in Detroit. So that, obviously, way before the Pontiac Silverdome and Ford Field and all those others. The game featured 77 running plays and 16 pass attempts. You know what that sounds like? That sounds like USC playing Utah with maybe, 15 running plays and the balance of passing plays. We're going to get to that in a bit. There were no overtime played back then, back in 1943, as the NFL wouldn't add the extra period for another 3 decades. So that 0-0 game, why are we talking about it? Because we can. Sometimes we have defensive struggles on the field. And defensive struggles are good because it's a chess game. It's a field position game. And so the football purists like it, just like me in baseball. I like 1-0 game, 2-1 games, 3-1 games, 4-2 games. I don't want to see 12-11. Not necessarily. I mean, especially as a former pitcher, that's the last thing I want to see. But a 0-0 football game, or even a 2-0 game, how about that with a safety, right? The idea of seeing a defensive game and the chess match that goes with it is rather exciting as I see it. And it's see if I can spit that out. It's exciting because that field position game and where you're actually positioned on the field. Do you go to for example, in college football, right? Do you go to the short side or do you go to the long side? And what's going to be your short side plays? What are you going to do? Are you going to have the weak side for the quarterback as the long field, or are you going to have the strong side as the short side of the field? There's so much that goes into it that people don't seem to get, or they don't want to get. They just want to see touchdown after touchdown. You get diminishing returns after those kind of games when there's 150 points scored on the field. You're like, okay, great. Hey, it's another touchdown. Hey, it's another touchdown. It's like watching a baseball game with 14 home runs. You're like, hey, great, home run. Yeah, another home run. But the sex appeal of the home run or sex appeal of the 80-yard run from scrimmage kind of thing, it gets lost when there's so many scores. Right? And so the 0-0 tie, back to that. Is it interesting? Yes. Is it exciting? It can be. If you have two teams that know how to move the ball, it's even more exciting. But if you have two abysmal teams, like recently we had the Washington, that's right, they're the Commanders. I wanted to call them the Redskins, can't call them the Redskins. They're not the football team anymore, yet they are a football team, if you know what I mean. But the Washington Commanders visited Soldier Field and played my abysmal, horrific Chicago Bears. And unfortunately, the Bears, as bad as they are, they continue to be unimpressive. So guess what, folks? Let's grab this one right here. Okay. So let's grab this helmet right here. That was one of the best helmets in football. Everybody could see it is an old Washington Redskins helmet. One of the best ones. And here's the crazy thing about this. I'm going to digress for a moment here. This was one badass helmet right here. Okay. The problem is they took the name away because apparently it offended people, right? So the Redskins apparently had offended people. However, the Kansas City Chiefs, yes. Now, if the Redskins don't, because they're Indian related, right? So here you see the Indian head on here, right? Just like you see with the Chicago Blackhawks up in the corner here, okay? Well, the reality is the Indian head is apparently offensive to some people, right? Not really sure how that one works. When the Kansas City Chiefs are what? They're using an arrowhead. They use an arrowhead, which is the same Indian kind of reference, right? And remember, the Cleveland Indians changed their name, and poor Chief Wahoo, one of the best baseball logos of all time, goes by the wayside because some people were offended in the same way that the Washington Redskins were offending people, yet the Kansas City Chiefs are allowed to persist. And they do the tomahawk chop, yet that is allowed to persist. Yet Dan Snyder's Washington Redskins caved to maybe one of the sponsors. Could have been FedEx or FedEx Field. I don't know. But it's ridiculous to imagine that these teams will change their identities for what? And then you look at this Washington team, where I was going with this in the first place, a really bad Washington Commanders football team plays a very bad Chicago Bears team. And so that's where we got this whole Indian thing in the first place. But unfortunately, it seemed as though a 0-0 tie in that game would have actually been appropriate, if you know what I mean. Frankly, nobody wanted to win the game. And it was Washington that won the game basically by default. Two really bad football teams saying, okay, I don't want it. Do you want it? It's like a hot potato. I don't want it. Do you want it? Nobody wants it. And that's what the game looked like. And that was a game even Vegas probably couldn't fix, if you know what I mean.
Show me the money!
It didn't matter how much money that you threw at them. All they had to do was execute. They still couldn't even execute anything in the first place. So that's how bad it is. But you think about these 0-0 football games, right, that happened. The last one was 79 years ago. I would love to see the possibility of that happening again. Because not only would it make news for 6 months, it would be one of those 6-month stories that would just never quit. It's like Bill Plaschke from the LA Times saying something about the Dodgers. Oh, we got something for him, too. He's coming up in the next segment. The point is, these 0-0 games, that was the whole idea of the story in the first place. Frankly, I think they're pretty good. I like the idea of them, just like the idea of a 1-0 baseball game. How about a baseball game with 2 no-hitters thrown and one team scores an unearned run? Huh? How about that one? I wonder if that one's ever happened. I'll have to see if we can find that one for another show. But those kind of defensive games, there's a lot to them. I'm not talking 2 bad teams. I'm just talking, look, last time it happened, New York Football Giants and Detroit Lions. Apparently these were 2 pretty bad teams because they only had 9 first downs and 214 yards total. 77 running plays, 16 passing plays. But maybe the teams weren't that bad. I don't know. It's before my time. But I would love to see these 0-0 ties. We saw it in hockey a bunch of times. And let's face it, if either team wasn't good enough to win, they don't deserve a win. They don't deserve any points in the standings. You don't deserve diddly. And that's one thing I loved about the National Hockey League. Before they changed the rule, of course, to the shootout. You could have a 0-0 tie. And I've been to 5-5 ties, 4-4, 3-3, 7-7 ties. But I've never been to a 0-0 hockey tie. Now, that would have been cool. I'd love to see it back in football. I'll tell you what, folks, when we come back from the break, I'm going to shift into baseball, talk a little Dodger baseball and Bill Plaschke, this clown. Don't go anywhere, folks. Lots more to come here on The Circus. Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this commercial right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at 702-799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935, or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
My favorite one had to do with the Green Bay Packers. And I love the fact that they dealt off Ty Montgomery because of a blown assignment. Green Bay isn't Green Bay unless they have a good running game. Then they can win 10 Super Bowls. The fact is, you don't have a running game. You've got 70% passing, and that's not where Aaron Rodgers needs to be. He needs to be in a position where he's got a running game to offset the passing game and so forth. I like the move. Green Bay didn't have a running game anyway, so all they're doing is saying, we're going to get rid of you because you don't follow instructions.
Well, he made one of the most boneheaded plays I've ever seen. There's 2 minutes and 5 seconds on the clock. They traded him on Tuesday.
They should have cut him on Sunday night.
He shouldn't have been on the plane back to Green Bay.
Right, they should have made him walk back to Green Bay.
No, it was a terrible play. Now, he's not a stupid guy. He went to Stanford.
Really?
He's not a dumb guy.
He's not a dumb guy, but he doesn't follow instructions.
He made a terrible play.
The fact is he didn't follow instructions. And you say he's not a dumb guy. His own agenda he put ahead of his team.
I agree.
Thus, he is a dumb guy. Right or wrong?
Wrong. He just got selfish. You're not going to convince me that a guy from Stanford's a dum-dum.
No!
Yeah, this is Sidney Justin from The Miracles.
So you heard yesterday's show at Roy Firestone. Didn't you hear a little clip about him going into the office where Smokey was at? That was really good material, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was really funny, man.
Yeah, and then you heard him.
I thought it was hilarious. It was cool, though. It was cool. Really cool story, man. I enjoyed listening to that.
Right, and then he gave a couple of bars. Can you give us a couple of more from Ooh Baby Baby? And let's see if you could do it better than Roy Firestone. Come on, man!
All right, you know what? Why not? I did you wrong. My heart went out to play. But in the game, I lost you. What a price to pay. Hey, I'm crying. Ooh, How's that, man?
That's
Is that okay? Is that good enough?
That's incredible. That's fantastic. You know why? Because that's what you do. You're in the incredible business, Sid. That's awesome. Yes. Only on the Sports Circus. You're going to get sports. You get music.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. This segment brought to you in part by our friends over at the American Business Trust Company, helping companies with strategy, sales and marketing, capital resources, and establishing companies with physical locations or on the internet. Let's try this one again. This segment brought to you in part by Legal Shield, providing legal protection and peace of mind. Legal Shield can help with traffic tickets, texting and driving, DUIs, court appearances, estate planning, even contracts given to people that they don't understand. Maybe someone socked you in the mouth and you need some dentist work. Contact Legal Shield. Maybe they can help you find an attorney to fix your problem. 213-245-1305. That's 213-245-1305. Again, 213-245-1305. Or check them out at nocourt.us. That's www.nocourt.us. Also email Legal Shield at info@nocourt.us. All right, welcome back to everybody. You know you are, TV, radio. Make sure everybody watching on TV can see our wonderful microphone cover here for the Sports Circus. This is really good stuff, folks. Hope you like the set here. Lots of cool things. There's some mini helmets and baseballs and real helmets and baseball bats and sledgehammers and all kinds of great stuff. All right. Major League Baseball. Better yet, a sports writer for the LA Times. You know, the LA Times, a highly respected, well-respected publication. Good newspaper, right? Lots of good content. You know, sometimes there are writers that from time to time may look a brand not look so good. In this particular case, there's one particular writer. I got to tell you, folks, this individual is like a thorn in my brain. Every time I read something from this guy, or I hear him on television or whatever, in my opinion, this guy is the worst of the worst. He opens in his mouth, in my opinion. Everything's in my opinion here, so no lawsuits or nothing like that, folks. Sorry, I won't be showing you the money. So in my opinion, Bill Plaschke opens his mouth and spews a bunch of BS seemingly every time he speaks. That's how I feel about it. I'm not the only one. There's a lot of people that don't like what this guy says. So this guy goes off on the Dodgers, right? He's in LA. He's a sports writer for the LA Times, whatever. I don't even know how. Anyway, so this guy says, quote, Dodgers go from biggest winners to biggest losers with worst upset in their history. Close quote. This clown. Boy, Bill Plaschke. Buddy, I got to tell you, there are a lot of people that want to talk to you. And I mean they want to talk to you, if you know what I mean. He says about the Dodgers, they have flopped before. Countless wonderful summer cruelly melted into autumn ashes. But they've never blown it like this. They have been embarrassed before. Many memorable summers, marches, ruins by staggering October stumbles. But they'd never been humiliated like this. Barely a week after setting a franchise record with a 111-win season win, the biggest winners in Dodgers history have blundered into vastly different moniker. Okay, so Plaschke says the biggest losers. And he continues with, at San Diego's Petco Park, an even stranger event occurred. The sight of the San Diego Padres dancing across the field after sucker punching the Dodgers into the next season. I got to admit, I kind of like that line. Anyway, he continues with, little brother has knocked out big brother. The nail has spiked the hammer. The shadow has eclipsed the sun, all according to Plaschke. He continues with a lots more, yet that clown doesn't seem to give credit where credit's due. If he knew what the hell he was talking about, he would have realized that the Padres likely had the best starting rotation in baseball from top to bottom at the start of the season in the first place. Of course he fails to give San Diego credit. Look, I got no dog in the fight here. My uncle played with the Dodgers organization, but I'm not a Dodger person in this article. This is about fairness. But, of course, Plaschke seems to know everything. He seems to hate everything as well. If his teams in his area don't win, if they don't go 5,000-0, he finds something to complain about. So he said, in a 5-3 comeback win, the Padres clinched the best of 5 National League Division Series games 3-1, setting the Dodgers' darkest corners of their legacy. So according to Plaschke, this is the biggest disappointment in Dodger history. This is the biggest upset in Dodger history. In strictly a baseball sense, this is arguably the lowest point in Dodgers history, according to Plaschke. And he says the crush was finalized with a strikeout of Freddie Freeman, a stadium-shaking roar from the crowd, a giant infield hug by bouncing players, and a taunting sprint around the bases by pitcher Blake Snell while holding, what else? A ceramic goose. So Bill says the Dodgers have never been this cooked. Shut up. Really. He continues with, they've won more regular games than all but 3 teams in Major League Baseball history, yet their postseason lasted all of 4 nights. The Dodgers won 22 more games than the Padres during the long summer, yet they could beat them only once in 4 October tries. Based on difference in regular season winning percentage, this was the second biggest upset in postseason history and the biggest in 116 years. So Plaschke says the sight of the league's best offense spinning and staggering, the sight of the league's best bullpen lost in confusion, the sight of the league's most powerful franchise over the last decade crumbling under the pressure again. That's what he says. Well, it seems to me the most powerful team in the last decade, Bill Plaschke, probably was arguably the San Francisco Giants. Right? They've got themselves a few World Series. Somewhere around there. At least a couple of them. Dodgers only had 1. That was in the pandemic shortened season. I would argue that the Houston Astros are a better club. Absolutely. The Boston Red Sox have been better. And on we go. Nonetheless, Plaschke says 10 postseason appearances, 9 postseason failures. Guess what, buddy? They won a World Series. What have you won? Right. We'll get to that. 9 West Division championships and just 1 World Series championship, he says, in a COVID-shortened season of just 60 games. And the 2020 title looking more deserving of an asterisk with each passing nightmare. Really? Yet that comes from a guy that has no record of playing any sport, let alone at a high level. And let's face it, manager Dave Roberts says, yeah, there's certainly fans out there that are going to think it was a wasted season. I don't think there's anybody in our clubhouse in uniforms or with Dodgers that feel this way. But yeah, this one hurts, close quote. Okay, look, the team feels it. You got it, Plaschke? He says, though, this is bad. This is real bad. Now that's insightful, Bill. Seriously. Is that all you got? Shut up! Now he continues with, this is Bill Plaschke, it ended worse than anyone could possibly imagine as an array of relievers from the Dodgers' revolving bullpen blowing a 3-0 lead by allowing the Padres 5 in the 7th. First, he says, why was Tyler Anderson pulled after 5 innings of a 2-hit shutout? All right, I kind of get that one. Then, with the bases loaded and nobody out in the 7th after a walk and 2 singles against Tommy Conley, Where was top reliever Evan Phillips? Why did Roberts bring in Yency Almonte instead? Why is Plaschke questioning anybody? What experience does he have playing baseball, let alone any sport at the highest level, if you know what I mean? Zero. Last I checked, Mr. Southern Illinois University guy, apparently he couldn't handle it at one university. He had to transfer over there. So that's the case, as I see it. Anyway, then after 2 runs, he says, had scored and Cronenworth came to the plate with runners at second and third with 2 out. Why did Robert allow him, being Almonte, to throw 1 pitch, a ball, before bringing in, yes, Vesia, who gave up the game-winning double moments later? And again, why wait until the 9th inning to bring in Phillips? Through all of this, how was Juan Soto allowed to stroll to second base without a throw just before Cronenworth's hit? Yet Plaschke continues to run off at the keyboard, in this case, not his mouth. He probably did it on TV too somewhere. Anyway, this guy just complains and complains. Listen, we could do this one for a week. Unfortunately, Plaschke, who the hell's this guy? He's a writer that just makes a living by complaining about everything and everyone. What a waste of space, in my opinion. I'm boycotting the LA Times. Me personally, I'm boycotting them for allowing this clown and his continued unfounded opinions and nonsensical rhetoric to destroy the readers of the LA Times and the public in general. Put that in your pipe and smoke it, LA Times. Back in a few minutes. Don't go anywhere.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door. store without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at uppercutchops.com. Call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at uppercutchops.com.
Hey, this is Tommy John, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. Make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for our upcoming guests, our prior guests, or recorded shows, which are a podcast. They can be found on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, you name it. We're there. You can't get away from us. Also, some of our independent affiliates also have archives where you can listen to them as well. Also, make sure when you're at thesportscircus.com, check for upcoming guests and recorded show prior guests. Yes, we have lots and lots and lots of good ones. In fact, also go to our partners page. One of those partners been with us for quite some time is the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Check them out at csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. csncoyotes.com for tickets for upcoming games and events right here in the Las Vegas Valley. All right. And welcome back to everybody listening in, of course, on our Independence and CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates, various ones across the country. Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Wild Cable Television, Hotel TV in every metered market across America and over 500,000 rooms, plus Instagram, Facebook, and AMP TV, AAMP.TV. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow. All right, one more quick baseball topic I want to cover real quick here. And it had to do with Seattle Mariners catcher. This guy, Cal Raleigh, you want to talk about a gamer. This guy should be playing hockey. This guy played 18 innings in the American League Division Series game with a broken thumb and torn hand ligaments. Wow. That's a gamer, folks. That kind of reminds me of when in the National Hockey League in the playoffs, when Brent Seabrook from the Chicago Blackhawks, or actually Duncan Keith, took a shot in the mouth. He lost 7 teeth. In between periods, they went and stitched him up. And he got right back out there and played again. You know what? That's what it takes. Not this. I love the fact of what Troy Aikman said about the players and the dresses and stuff like that. I love that. And there's a guy that just went up on my list. I don't like anything UCLA except what Troy Aikman said about the players from the NFL. Take off your dresses and let's play this game or some crap like that. Gotta love that stuff. That's a big win. But anyway, so Mariners catcher, this guy, Cal Raleigh, played 18 innings like this. Yeah, no joke. And he told reporters after the game that he had been playing with a broken thumb and torn ligaments in his left hand literally for a month or so. Crazy stuff. So nice round of applause for this guy. And this guy has been really doing it, and good for him. All right. So, of course, every week, what do we have? We have college football. I love college football. But I don't love certain things about college football. But first things first, we look at these polls. And you say, well, you know, the polls, okay, Georgia sits atop with 1,530 votes in first place. Ohio State does nothing. They're on a bye week. And, well, guess what? They pick up some votes and they go to 1,509 in second place. Tennessee upsets Alabama, or better yet, it seems like Tennessee is the benefactor of Alabama beating itself. Either way, Tennessee played well. They deserved the win in some kind of a crazy field goal that looked like a wobbling lame duck. Somehow it gets through the uprights, and Tennessee stuns Alabama. And they move to number 3. Michigan goes to number 4 after blowing out Penn State, a highly overrated Penn State team. Clemson steady, well, to a point where they actually dropped one spot. They dropped one spot to number 5. Alabama goes to number 6 after that loss to Tennessee. Then we have Ole Miss jumps up 2 slots to number 7. A pretty good Ole Miss team. They just can't stop anybody. So they're going to beat everybody 98-97, that kind of a game. TCU in an improbable victory. When I say improbable, folks, let me clear my throat for a moment here because I got to tell you, it was improbable. So they go up 5 spots after beating Oklahoma State. They basically swap spots with Oak State. UCLA jumps up 2 spots to number 9 from 11. Oregon goes up 2 into the top 10 at number 10. And USC, and here's an interesting one. I'm going to stop here at USC for a minute because USC is a real head scratcher here. Why? Tell you what. First of all, when you think about a team that's paying 2 coaches, I heard this one recently, 2 coaches, $16 million. That's how much they're paying for their coaching. Coaches on their payroll, that is. Because really, it's $6 million to Clay Helton. And then it's also $10 million, who is, by the way, Helton's over at Western Kentucky now, and $10 million to Lincoln Riley. So what are we talking about? A bad deal. USC went from number 7, dropped down to number 12 for all the wrong reasons. And when I say that, I'm talking about from a coaching standpoint. And this comes from an esteemed USC alum, former football player. We won't tell you the name, but you could probably imagine who. So the reality is, USC ran the ball, according to him, I think 15 times against Utah. They were up on Utah by a couple of touchdowns, 21-7. Then next thing you look at the scoreboard, it's 28-28. And then it's 35-28. Then it's 35-35. And then it's 43-35. And then suddenly it's 43-42. The point is, USC got away from what they do. Their game plan by Lincoln Riley is a product of somebody from Texas Tech, you may recall. All this information comes from our esteemed colleague, former USC great. The reality is, this was USC's chance to do something that the Pac-12 really hasn't done, and that means have a real dominant team, possibly really ready for, truly ready for the college football playoff, which has 4 stupid teams in it. 4! Only has 4 teams. But, unfortunately, USC has shot themselves in the foot. UCLA, right now, as I was recently told, reminded maybe an hour ago, somebody said they're the best team in the Pac-12. I said, yeah, that's only until USC and UCLA play each other. And then UCLA will drop down. Oregon will take over that slot. But wait a minute. Where's Utah in this picture? Utah is hovering at the number 15 spot. They jump up 5 spots to number 15 from 20 after beating USC, a very bad game by USC. Why are we talking about this? First of all, because we can't. It's the rankings. But we think about the abysmal play of the Pac-12 and the reputation the Pac-12 has. It's really bad. It's really bad. In fact, it's so bad that if you look up and down the standings, or better yet, the polls, the first Pac-12 team doesn't appear in the polls until number 9. That's number 9 UCLA. So that tells you just how much the committee thinks. And mind you, they're undefeated. That tells you what the committee thinks of the Pac-12. The best the Pac-12 could do is number 9? Wow. That's abysmal when you have a 1-loss team in Alabama ranked number 6. That tells you what they think of the SEC. SEC dominates the polls, period. I mean, look, you've got number 1, SEC, number 3, SEC, number 6, SEC, number 7, SEC. 4 teams in the top 7 are SEC. And for everybody listening in down on WAUD over in Auburn, Alabama, unfortunately, War Eagle's nowhere to be found. And hopefully Brian Harsin has seen his last days at Auburn. Nonetheless, going down the balance of the poll here, of course, Oregon 10, Oak State 11, SC is number 12. Wake Forest, with 1 loss, is number 13. Syracuse, an undefeated Syracuse team, sits behind a one-loss ACC team in Wake Forest. And the other undefeated team in the ACC that matters, of course, is Clemson at 7-0. And Clemson is ranked number 5. So you ask yourself, how the hell is Syracuse number 14 and they're undefeated in the same conference? All right, Pac-12, Utah, number 15, Penn State, they should have dropped out of the rankings. They're down to 16. They were destroyed by Michigan. Kansas State stays the same at 17. Illinois jumps up 6 spots by beating Minnesota. They're up to number 18. Illinois is a very good team. Kentucky is tied. Well, they went from a 22nd ranking tie with Texas to up to number 19. Texas comes in at number 20. The Cincinnati Bearcats, boy, they were something last year. 21, they're 5-1. And North Carolina, with an illegal win with a receiver that stepped out of bounds, somehow gets a win over Duke. Not really sure how that happened because the guy's foot, the receiver's foot, was clearly out of bounds. They replayed it over and over and over, but conveniently, magically, Carolina gets the win. Mississippi State, a very good defensive squad, comes in at number 24 despite dropping 8 spots. And Tulane, the Green Wave, unrated, make it to number 25. Others receiving votes. Purdue wins another big game against another worthy opponent in Nebraska. They get 95 votes. LSU comes in behind them at 87 votes. And these teams likely should be considered to be getting some kind of a ranking. Purdue, absolutely. LSU, not really sure. University of Central Florida, and that's Gus Malzahn, the old Auburn coach. He's got 13 votes. South Carolina gets 13 votes. Kansas, the Jayhawks, boy, they were the darlings of college football recently, just as recent as a couple of weeks ago. They even did college game day over there. Kind of like that was like the black cloud that came in because they haven't won since. James Madison, in their brief appearance in the top 25, they're done, but they did get 6 votes. Oregon State somehow gets 6. Maryland, a very questionable Maryland team, gets 5 votes. South Alabama, yeah, they've got 4. Liberty gets a couple of votes. Arkansas, Minnesota, and Florida State each get 1. Florida State's playing pretty good football. You know, you look at these rankings and you say, okay, what's going to lock in about 4 weeks? What's going to happen in 4 weeks? Everything could change. But real quick, let's take a look at this college playoff thing. Let's take a look at this. What if Georgia beats this is how USC could get into this. If Georgia beats Alabama big, Ohio State destroys Michigan, Tennessee, if they lose to Georgia, right? Ole Miss is going to lose at some point, and TCU likely will lose. That's the one way, and UCLA is going to lose to USC. That's how USC gets back into this picture, into this potential, maybe a number 4 seed in this college football playoff thing. But a lot has to happen. A virtual miracle has to happen for the University of Southern California to jump in there. Because right now, these polls are going to change. But we know Georgia has to play Alabama. Ohio State has to play Michigan. Tennessee has to play Georgia. And that is your 1 through 6. Never mind, Ole Miss still has to play one of those 2 as well. So a lot's going to happen here, folks. These polls are going to look very different in a few weeks. So don't get too attached to them. If you're in Tennessee, enjoy it now, Rocky Top, because who the hell knows what's going to happen once you play Georgia. All right, folks, we're out of time here on the Sports Circus, and we'll see you next time. Better yet, Tennessee has to play Clemson. Strike that. Is it Clemson or is Georgia? No, it's Georgia. Anyway, folks, we're going to see you next time in about 23 hours right here on your favorite station. Until then, so long, everyone.